Good morning, students. Welcome to our e-learning class. Students, today we are going to read about the third part of the theme 3 of book 1. And the theme name is kinship, caste and class. Kinship, caste and class. So this is our theme number 3. So under this theme, today we are going to cover the following topics. The topics are here. Please look once. Beyond birth, resources and status. Gendered access to property. Varna and access to property. An alternative social scenario, sharing wealth. Explaining social differences. A social contract. So these are our today's topics. So students, do watch this video carefully and listen to the lecture given by me. Clear, students? Now, so beyond birth, resource and status, that is this one. Students, if you recall the economic relations, which were discussed in chapter 2 or theme 2, then you will realize that slaves, landless agricultural laborers, hunters, fisher folk. Here fisher folk means what? Fishermen. Pastoralists, peasants, village headmen and craft persons, merchants and kings. All these groups of people, they were emerged as social actors. All these groups of people like merchants, kings, fisher folk, slaves, craft people, pastoralists, peasants, village headmen, all these class people, they emerged as social groups in different parts of the continent. That we have studied in theme 2. Their social position, the social position of all these groups of people, their social position were often shaped by their access to economic resources. The social position of all these groups were shaped by the access to economic resources. Here we will examine the social implications to access to resources in certain specific situations. That we will read in this topic. Now students, gender access to property. Gender access to property, or I can say gendered access to property. So in this subheading, first we will read the critical episode of Mahabharata. The critical episode of Mahabharata we are going to read. In Mahabharata, what happened, See, during the course of Mahabharata, a long drawn struggle or rivalry, a feud was there between two groups of people, namely Pandavas and Kauravas. Clear? And both belongs to Kuru dynasty. So long drawn struggle was there between what? The Kauravas and Pandavas. And you studied that Duryodhan or Duryodhana. In Mahabharata, Duryodhana invited Yudhishthira, the head of the Pandavas. So Duryodhana invited Yudhishthira to the game of dice. Dice, people are playing dice. So he invited. Now, the latter, Duryodhana, who deceived, or I can say, who was deceived. Here who was deceived? Yudhishthira was deceived by his rival. Who was his rival? Duryodhana. Kauravas, I can say. He is the leader of Kauravas. So Duryodhana deceived Yudhishthira, or I can say Yudhishthira was deceived by Duryodhana, and as a result, he staked his gold, the entire gold he has taken, elephants, chariots, slaves, army, treasury, kingdom, everything he has taken. He lost in that game. Who lost in the game? Yudhishthira lost in the game. And who won the game? Duryodhana. And in that game, Duryodhana took all these things from Yudhishthira. Okay, the property of his subjects, not only Yudhishthira property, the property of his subjects, his brothers and also his family members was taken. His brothers, and finally he himself lost everything. Yudhishthira lost everything in the game of dice with Duryodhana in the story of Mahabharata. Then he staked their common wife. Who was the common wife? Draupadi. So he staked the common wife Draupadi and lost her too. Yudhishthira kept Draupadi in the game and he lost his wife too. Now, issues of ownership foregrounded. Issues of ownership foregrounded. Okay, here what I can say, issues of ownership foregrounded in the Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras. So where this issues of ownership was, or ownership of property was laid? In Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras. According to the Manusmriti, listen students, according to Manusmriti, the paternal estate, the parents' estate, land, everything, property, was to be divided equally among the sons after the death of the parents. Whenever the parents will die, the entire estate property will be equally divided among all the sons. Okay, with a special share for the eldest. Though it was equally shared, but some special share was given to the eldest son of the family. So in this way, the paternal property or the estate or everything was divided equally among the sons, but not the daughters, and some special share was given to the eldest son. Women were allowed to retain the gifts. Women were allowed only to retain the gifts they received on the occasion of their marriage. So during the time of marriage, parents, they are giving gold, some land, etc. in the name of gifts. So these gifts only will be possessed by the women as Stri Dhana. So these gifts are called what? Stri Dhan or Stri Dhana. Literally means a woman's wealth. A woman's wealth. Okay, students. Now, generally, the daughters have no right over the paternal estate. Only sons are having the right over the paternal estate. Now, you will read about a wealthy woman in this book, History Theme 3. You will read about a wealthy woman such as the what? Vakataka queen. Vakataka is the dynasty. Queen Prabhavati Gupta. Here Prabhavati Gupta belongs to Vakataka dynasty. So she is a wealthy woman. However, cumulative evidence, both epigraphic and textual, suggests that while upper class women may have had access to resources, generally what I told as per Manusmriti, daughters have no right over the paternal property. But in the case of Prabhavati Gupta, we came to know that she possesses some wealth, property, land. So upper class women may have access to resources like land, cattle and money were generally controlled by men. Generally land, property, wealth or cattle, they are controlled by men. But Prabhavati Gupta controlled these things. So evidences are there that even women also possessed the wealth, and the exception is what? Prabhavati Gupta. In other words, social differences between men and women were sharpened because of the difference in access of resources. So the difference between men and women is only because of what? The access to resources. Access to resources. Now coming to this Varna. Varna and access to property. So Varna and access to property, students, you know, we have studied there were 4 Varnas. Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras. Above all these 4, there are untouchables. We have studied in the previous video. So this last category people, that is Sudras. These people, their prime work is to serve the above 3 classes, and they have no right to possess any wealth or property, and they have no right to access education also. In the 4 Varnas, Brahmins and Kshatriyas are the rich people. They are in the top of the Varna system, and they are rich people. They possess wealth and property. Whereas Sudras, they are only serving the other 3 classes. Their work is servitude. Untouchables, they are outside the 4 Varnas. Okay, so what is said here? According to the Brahmanical texts, another criteria was there, one system was there, apart from gender. I told already gender, only sons are having the right over the paternal property, women is not having, daughters are not having, only they are getting gifts at the time of marriage, that is their wealth or property. But one exception is there, Prabhavati Gupta. So apart from this gender, there is one more criteria as mentioned in the Brahmanical text, that is for regulating the access to wealth was Varna. So only certain Varna people are supposed to access wealth and property and education. The only occupation, moreover based on the Varna, the occupation decided, or based on occupations the Varna system was decided. So the only occupation prescribed for Sudras was servitude, serving the other 3 classes, while a variety of occupations were listed for men of the first 3 Varnas. Variety of occupations are performed by the above 3 Varnas. Brahmins, I told you, religious works, ritual practices, yajnas, everything. Kshatriyas, warfare, security, providing justice. Whereas Vaishyas, trade, agriculture, pastoralism, these works they are doing. At another level, even as the Brahminical view of society was codified in the Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastras, other traditions developed critics of the Varna order. Many people criticized the Varna system. Now, an alternate social scenario, sharing wealth. So under this topic, students, what we are going to read is, in an alternative scenario to the Varna system, people either claimed or were assigned status on basis of their wealth. Based on wealth also, status was there for people during ancient period. There were other possibilities as well, situations where men who were generous were respected. Generous people are always respected. Kind people are always respected. While those who were miserly or simply accumulated the wealth for themselves were despised. Those people who are generous, who are, giving the wealth to the poor and needy people, they are always respected. And the people who are miserly accumulating their wealth, they are being despised, or I can say despised by the common people. Now, explaining social differences. Another topic, explaining social differences. A social contract. What does it mean? So students, listen carefully. The Buddhists also developed an alternative understanding. Of social inequalities. Buddhist people, they developed an alternative understanding of social inequalities and of the institutions required to regulate and social conflict. Generally, the people who are following Buddhism, they never follow social inequality. They treat all the people socially equal. They never show any Varna system. Okay. In a myth means what? You can believe or not. In a myth, found in a text known as the Sutta Pitaka. Sutta Pitaka is one of the Pitaka in Buddhist text. So in a myth found in the text known as Sutta Pitaka, they suggested that the originally human beings did not have fully evolved bodily forms. I repeat, according to Sutta Pitaka, okay, what is suggested that originally all human beings did not have fully evolved bodily forms, nor was the world of plants fully developed. This was mentioned in the Sutta Pitaka. There was a gradual deterioration of this state as human beings became increasingly greedy, vindictive and deceitful. That means here Buddha people, the Buddhist people, they never showed any social inequality. They preached social equality. They have not showed any difference in the Varna system. Okay, now I'll read the text. Listen, students, carefully. A social contract. The Buddhists also developed an alternative understanding of social inequalities and of the institutions required to regulate social contract, or I can say social conflict. In a myth found in the text known as the Sutta Pitaka, they suggested that originally human beings did not have fully evolved bodily forms, nor was the world of plants fully developed. All beings lived in an idyllic state of peace, taking from nature, only what they needed for each meal. However, there was a gradual deterioration of the state as human beings became increasingly greedy, vindictive and deceitful. Already told you. This led to them to wander. When people's attitude changed, then it led to what? Wandering of the people. Okay, what if we were to select a certain being who should be wrathful, bad, wrathful, W-R-A-T-H-F-U-L, wrathful, bad, which indignation is right, who should censure that which should rightly be censured and should banish him who deserves to be banished. Who deserves to be banished? Question. We will give him in return a proportion of rice chosen by the whole people. He will be known as what? Mahasammata, the great elect. This suggests that the institution of kinship was based on human choice, with taxes as a form of payment for services rendered by the king. At the same time, it reveals recognition of humans, agency in creating and recognition of humans, agency in creating and institutionalizing economic and social relations. There are other implications as well. For instance, if human beings were responsible for the creation of the system, they could also change it in future. Today, if you see in the modern days, the trend has been changed. Earlier, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, they are in the top society, Sudras are in the bottom society, untouchables are beyond the four Varnas. But today, if you see, the trend was reversed.